All right, you legends, we're on it again. And my brother's kit. We're going to pick up the rest of the group from our start, and we'll get some clips for you all. It should be interesting.
On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton, rolled into the woodlands. We had a great turnout on the ride today. We headed down with the group on 1488, went up Mount Moriah, all of that's on film, past Cairn, 149 to Jackson Road, into Dobbins, and then we stopped filming after we got to Mount Moriah, rode into Dacus, took Johnson Road, back to 1090 to Bailey Grove to 149 into Montgomery. We stopped at Taco on the way back, and then we filmed Spring Branch as a bonus material. There's no data, but I think you would love the clip. I was trying a different angle and mount of the camera, and then going forward I will add data in the future, but right now it was just considered something that was experimental, but I think you would love the angle and the clips. The ride was very, very challenging. It was fast, and we had a great workout and excellent company.
Let me get the guys. Hey, how are you, man?
We're at the Alden Village Center. That's Maurizio Topotopini in the blue and white over there. In the middle there. That's Doug in the orange. Mike Barrera, all covered up. Mike does not like the cold. Paul telling Mo to behave. Mo is taking it easy today. He's you know, he's not. He told me he's not planning on going hard on this ride, so he's just gonna chill.
Those of you like Abby that have to go early, we wanted to recommend there is Mount Moriah and a store on 105. It's a good place to use the restroom. Jorge is kind of, yeah. So that's one stop, and then Taco Corner, the official Taco Corner, second stop, and then we come back. So 2 stops possible. If you don't need to go, we just roll through there. Just holler at us. I know. Okay, guys, let's roll. Let's have fun.
So the ride was very, very big. We're on the open road, the FM 1488 westbound. The ride turned out to be as big as it is because there was that's Maurizio Topotopini. We're going, the riders were going to leave from another location, and they kept changing the start time because it's cold. It's like maybe 42 degrees Fahrenheit, 6 Celsius. So the group leaders kept modifying. Oh, let's leave at 8. Let's leave at 8:30. And you know, before you know it, it's just later and later. So these guys were already out, and they decided, oh, what other ride is going on that knew about our ride? So they just rolled out there, and so we got an unusually high turnout, which was good. It's not terribly cold, but it is. It feels like it's in the 30s, like mid-30s right now with the wind. We live in a very humid environment. We've had a lot of rain in recent time, and we live by the coast. You know, we're an hour from the ocean. So we're pretty much slightly at sea level or a little above up here, but Houston itself is considered below sea level. So it's always humid in the summer, and that humidity transfers over to very cold temperatures. So our 42 feels like 20 in Colorado and other dry climate areas. Okay, so we have to adapt, because when we buy stuff, they'll say, oh, it's rated to 20 degrees. Well, it depends on where that glove or whatever was tested. And then when we get it, we find we got to use liners. The glove I'm wearing right now is one of the warmest I have. The brand is called Sportful. They support, they used to support, I think they still support Peter Sagan team. They make good stuff. But the reason I'm talking about it is it's one of the gloves I have that tolerates you wearing like a liner, like a wool liner, and then slipping on that glove, which extends the range. So at 42 degrees, my fingers feel nice and warm because I'm wearing liners and that glove. And with the liners, I can still feel my fingertips. It does not harm my dexterity. So the Sportful works great with liners. So does the Ultras from ASOS. The Ultras, although they rated it for harshest weather, I find that below 50 degrees, or actually below 40, like what it feels like now, it does not allow your hands to stay very warm. And then the sleeve is not really very tight, so I end up putting jerseys over it. So you need to test your gloves. Whatever you have, see if wearing it with a liner will allow your fingers to go all the way into the glove to where you can feel the tips. Some gloves, like the Castelli Estremo, does not work well with liners because they already have a liner in there. So it's almost like you got two liners. And so if you try to wear it with a liner, your fingers stop about 2/3 of the way in, and then you can't feel it. It just kind of flops around. And that hurts your dexterity. You just don't have the feel when you're riding. So I've identified a brand that allows me to wear liners effectively, and I keep them with the liners as such. Then the brands that I have to wear alone, and I found that most of these so-called harsh winter gloves, I can tolerate them from 40 degrees Fahrenheit and up. So about this temperature, 6C, 5C. Much below 5 Celsius. When it gets in the 30s, I've got to use liners. And so just because it's 42 does not mean the temperature is 42. It feels like 35, so I'm wearing liners. I hate my hands being cold. As a result, I'm very comfortable. And I'm wearing 3 layers. I've got a thermal long sleeve, then a thermal jersey from Souke, and a gilet that blocks the wind. And it did its job really well. So if you dress appropriately, you're fine. I like to dress slightly warmer than I think I'll need because I don't want to have to depend on just heating up on the bike to stay comfortable. But I definitely wear, I go easy on the headwear in these temperatures because once you start riding fast, I heat up. You know, so it's how do you say it? You got to hedge it. You got to go out and test it. You can't just read about something and then say, oh yeah, this will work. You got to take it out in those conditions, and over time you will learn. Because sometimes you have too many pieces you got to shed. I'd much rather be in that position than not have enough, if that makes sense. We have a rider that joined us, Kyle. He a subscriber of the channel, and he found the link. He asked to join the group. We added him, and so he's warming up with us. He's up ahead, and he just came to see what it's like. You know, the group's character varies all the time based on who shows up and the time of the year. Okay, so we don't try to restrict anybody. All we ask is that people be safe. That's our only rule, be safe. So if people riding too fast and certain people don't want to go with them, then we form another group behind and a third, as many as we need. Because I don't want to tell anybody, oh, you're riding too fast. That doesn't make sense. If you're in the mood to go fast that day, then you go with them. If you're not, you form another group. And then you guys meet at the regroupment point or at the store. So what you heard me talking about in the parking lot was, with the cold weather, every 90 minutes or so, we have a tendency to stop. The body just does not process the fluids the same. And I don't stop drinking when I'm off the bike because that helps my recovery. So we stop before we meet the group. We make sure we stop because I drink before I get on the bike. And I carry only 1 bottle in the winter because I don't need to drink as much. But I make sure I do drink because it's good for your muscles. So now you don't want to come home and your urine is pickled with lactic acid depending on what kind of ride you have. So we're going to stop at about the 25-mile mark. We'll call a micro stop. Got that from Mike Barrera of San Diego. Micro stop means quick stop, pee, do whatever you got to do, get back on the bike. And then we have an official stop at Taco Corner, and that's it. That was the official stop. And I was telling people, if you don't need a stop, we just roll through that first stop. But everybody needed to stop. And then we have a lot of ladies in the group. They can't go in the woods as easily as us guys. You know, they make some bibs that they can detach, but most of the time they've got to pull the bibs down. So it's better to stop at a place that has restrooms. And the place I was talking about has multiple stalls in the restroom. So that means the stops are quick. Because some of these stores only got a 1 person at a time restroom. So we're stopping where it's going to make sense. And it worked out. So keep your rides flexible. Just make sure you tell people to obey safety rules of the road. You know, what we're talking about here is the local ride. A local ride on Sunday that leaves from Sun and Ski was visited by one of the sheriffs. I don't know if they're getting a reputation for not stopping at stop signs. He was in his car and he yelled at him that if you guys don't stop for stop signs, I'm going to arrest you guys. And so somebody was being facetious and said, can you say that louder, please? And I guess he got annoyed. So he followed the entire ride last Sunday. That's Kyle. Kyle's letting us go. Kyle came to just see what the group is like. So it was great having Kyle. I hope he joins us again because the pace varies and we do have different speed groups. But we are going kind of fast. I mean, 22, 23, we're talking, but that's because for decades we've done big miles. So our levels are pretty high, you know, so we're able to do this. And if you're new, don't feel discouraged. Keep riding and you will improve, okay? So what I was talking about was this sheriff followed, that's what Mo's telling me about. He followed a whole group. Paul's trying to tell me about Kyle falling off the pace, but I didn't hear him here, and he will call me in a little while. But anyway, this guy followed the group, and almost at the end of the ride, I guess there was an infraction. So he turns on the sirens, speeds up, passes the group, and wants to pull them over. Well, they were close to the store where everybody starts, and these cyclists decided to just scatter because they could take bike trails and other ways to get there where he couldn't go. So he couldn't catch anybody. He didn't catch anybody. He got frustrated. And I'm talking, these are big groups on Sunday. And so he got frustrated. He went to the store and called like 2 other deputies or whatever. And they talked to the guy who does the ride. And, you know, the store doesn't want hassles. So the store has required that these riders have to put their foot down at every stop sign. And that's fine. I mean, we're getting a reputation. That's Adrian. He's from somewhere in Eastern Europe. He used to play another sport, and now he's in cycling. He lives in the College Station area. Mo was telling me about him. He likes riding with us because they have a lot of chip seal roads in the College Station area. He doesn't like that. And Joe Nanga does not like chip seal either. He lives in the Dallas area. We have some that are worse than others. I'm drifting back. I told Mo I want to check on Kyle. And so Paul's telling me Kyle's having an issue. So I looked back and I saw Kyle. He was riding. He was in the distance. And I said, yeah, it was clear that he was going to do his own thing. He just came to kind of check us out. So I hope he comes back because it's always different. He's welcome to, you know, he has an open invitation. He's a member of the group now, so he'll see our postings. So I'm going to start putting the links to join our ride. We have a GroupMe chat. And if you're in the North Houston area, or you're in the Houston area and you want to ride with us, you can join our group and come to do some of the rides as you wish. We'll mostly post on Saturdays, but I do it like Friday so everybody has time to decide whether they want to come join us or not. But anyway, this will let you know what we're doing, where we're leaving from. We leave from the same place. It's a good location. It's central. It's close for all the riders to access, and I kind of like it. But anyhow, we're getting this reputation of not stopping. Paul and I see it a lot, that when we're riding, before we approach a four-way stop sign, drivers are already there, but they don't trust us enough to go about their business. They expect us to come and run the sign, even though we're not there yet. And that needs to change. We should be expected to behave like cars do. Most drivers stop at stop signs. The exceptions that run stop signs create hazards, but it's not the norm. We're being seen as our norm is we don't stop, and we got to change that by setting the proper examples. Put your foot down when the corners are busy. Put your foot down so the drivers know you've stopped. And then if they wave you through, fine. But we need to get them seeing us as law-abiding users of the road. Right now, we're not seen that way. And I say we, meaning just anybody on the bikes. A lot of recreational cyclists around town just break the law, really. And so we're being seen as just dangerous. So they don't trust us. And we have to change that over time and get to where they say that, oh, these guys are going to stop. Because right now we're not there, not in our area anyway. So we try our best, Paul and I, to set that example. We're approaching Mount Moriah outskirts. There is a hole on the side. Mo's gonna let them know that hole is there because everybody's riding near the white line like he is, and that hole's right there. The hole comes up after we get through here, pointing out those reflectors. See Mo leaning over? He's looking for that hole.
There it is.
Yep. That's the hole. They need to drop some quick setting concrete in that hole. It's been there long enough. I know it doesn't swallow car tires, but ours are at risk. I'm just standing, keeping the gear rolling. I'm sitting still in zone 1. We're not really riding hard yet. I did not recognize Mike Barrera, that's what I'm telling Paul. He had a face mask on covering his whole face, even up to the bridge of his nose. You could just see his eyes. But he said, I don't like the cold. I was like, yeah, I can relate.
Yeah.
I'm telling Paul why the group is so big.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
They kept messing with the time. These boys want to get their ride in today. So it's gonna vary. People are gonna show up based on the weather and so forth. And we don't really worry about it. I don't worry about how many riders are expected at the ride and all that kind of stuff. When I show up, we get there around 7:20, 7:25. That's when we roll in. Whoever's there to clip in at 7:30, that's the ride. Unless someone has called or said, oh, you know, we're on the way, we're running late, we just take off. So if you're late, you know the route. That's why I post the route, so you can always pick us up on the route if you're running behind or something. Because I don't like to make people wait that are on time for people who aren't on time. I think that's kind of rude. It's a total disregard of the person's time. People who are there on time, let's clip in, let's roll. You know, it's one ride a week. You need to be on time for it. So it's just the way it is. So I don't worry about how many people are going to be there. Whoever's there, that's the ride that day. There's too much to manage if you're worried about that. I'm telling Paul about what Mauricio and I were talking about the issue with the Sun and Ski ride.
They turn on Nursery. Nursery is one of those roads right near the store.
Yeah.
And that's where he tried to pull them over, and they took off. Everybody started going different directions. Came around them, lights blazing, they took off. They scattered. He didn't catch anybody. So he went to the store to complain.
Pick up?
Yeah. So the store wants everybody to stop and put their foot down.
So Mo said, based on that incident with the officer, they need to change the route and go out of town instead of just riding around the woodlands. There's too many stops. It's like a metro area. You know, you get a group rolling, I want to be stopping all the time. So get out of town like we do here. We're out of town. We don't have to worry about stop signs for miles. You know, 10 kilometers we come to a stop sign. That's why I call it the open road. I like to get out of town. I don't care for it. I got enough stop signs in my neighborhood. I don't care for that. During the week, yeah, I'll ride in town. I don't have the time to come out here. You know, get an hour, 90 minutes in. That's plenty. Put your head down. But I pick routes that still have kilometers before you come to a stop sign. So you get a workout. But I do stop. I think we need to be safe. That's the whole point to you. You get your ride in and you don't endanger yourself. That's John on the right there. John and Terry are a couple. They ride here with us. I believe that's Terry in front of John. Yep. We got a bunch of ladies here. There's Terry. There's no, not John and Terry. I got it backwards. John and Jennifer are a couple. Terry is a rider on the left with the light blinking here with the Asos kit, that black kit with the white sleeves. That's Terry. That's Jennifer on the right in front of John. That's the couple there. John's on the right, Jennifer's on his right shoulder. And then we got, of course, Laura. And we got Kelly in here as well. Kelly's on the left in front of Mo with the gray kit. I think that's Laura on the right over there in front of Jennifer. And these ladies hold their own. They flatten the clients for us. These are flyweights, we call them. They don't mess around. We got some strong females in this group. They're putting down a hammer here. We're rolling 300 watts for me anyway. Yeah, this Mount Moriah. What Mount Moriah? Those ladies riding that stuff like it's flat. That's what I'm talking about. They're representing. You got to do the work. So it was great having a large number of females. I mean, it's been a long time since we've had a lot of females in the group. It was very refreshing. And they were holding their own. They were moving, just TCB, I call it, taking care of business. We went on Johnson Road. They were all over the front. Then we're coming back as off camera on Honia Egypt at the end. Man, they were all over that Honia Egypt bump like a rash. These women weren't messing around. You come out here out of shape, they'll show you how to ride. They'll make you go back and do the work. Oh, yeah. They need to grow cycling in the area, like the women's racing, the men's racing. Everything's kind of dwindled down, you know. So it's nice to see them coming out representing. So that's Jennifer right there with the black kid in front of John. That's the couple. And I believe that's Laura in front of Jennifer. Laura had Nicole and I think Assos. Laura's always styling. Laura kids always blend, and so does that's Terry here in the Assos kit. So the women make it look easy. They can put stuff together. I don't think they think about it as much as we do, but they put it together, looking clean. That's Kelly in the gray. That Mo is right behind up there. Another strong female.
I actually get.
Mo says he's getting cold. I don't think Mo doesn't wear a whole lot of stuff because he figures he's going to be riding at a certain tempo, so he doesn't have to shed. You know, but sometimes, you know, you gauge it and then the weather changes, the wind is different. And Abby's a tough guy here now with nothing on his legs covering, but he's got a warm jersey on. I don't know how he does it. I got to cover my knees. Below 60, something's on them. And when it's below 50, I'm not wearing nothing cute. If it's 50, then I'll put on leg warmers. If it's below 50, I want my whole leg warm. This is 149. I'm wearing my Pactimo cap because it's warm, but it breathes really well. With my A-Bus helmet, it fit really well. So we're going on 149 towards Jackson Road in about probably 10 kilometers. That's Abby there with nothing on his knees. I don't know how he does it.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
He's speaking French to Paul. He says, "Ça va? How are you?" The gilet that I'm wearing is from Souke, and I tell you what, they fit really well. My only challenge was trying to get stuff in and out of the pocket because with the gloves, you can't feel where the pocket begins. The gilet has pockets on it, but I really didn't use it because they were just so tight for my gloves to get something substantial in there. So everything I have are in the pockets of my jersey, and the gilet just covers it. I just like that it's not flapping because it's very windy here. That's what Mo was saying. You know, he gets a little cold. You know, we're going into the wind here. And that always makes the temperature feels colder than 5 Celsius. So it's right around 40 degrees. Road goes up here. See the watts go up. Paul flipped the camera back. Paul was a little under the weather on this ride. Later on, he had to kind of let us go, and then he dropped his pace. But he regrouped with us at the taco stop. Because when we got to Johnson Road, the pace was elevated and, you know, the work was on. And even on Sunday, he wasn't himself. So I told him, you probably need to rest a little more. You know, we ride together enough. I can tell when he's not himself. And sometimes your body is dealing with something that does not make you feel ill necessarily. So you feel okay, but then you go to do a workout and you just feel like, meh. You know what I mean? So whenever you're doing a workout and you just feel like you can't put out the power, whatever the workout may be, whether it's weights, whatever, just do a lighter workout that day or cut the session and go rest. That's just your body's way of telling you, I need that energy for something else today. So just because you don't feel sick does not mean you're 100%. And the body will take energy to cure or fight things versus having you use it to put force into a workout. You've probably been on a workout where you feel like, man, I can't really put the power down today. Yeah, that means you need more rest for whatever reason. And you can reevaluate what happened the days preceding the workout or the week preceding that workout and try to identify what may be going on. I do that a lot because I want to be in a manner to where I feel like I'm more predictable. You know, I want to work out hard today. I want to make sure my body's ready for that. That's the whole thing about training. It is such a science that you never master it. So you've got to be flexible and learn to adapt. You can see we're doing 25 miles an hour, and I'm sitting right at the top of zone 1 right now. So it's a combination of the work we have done over the years and the fact that I'm in the draft. That's all the more reason of why your training must be consistent for what level you aspire to ride at. So you know you got an event coming on and you want to do well in it, you got to do the work. You don't want to be riding your event cross-eyed the whole time. The power is down. Somebody raised the pace. You can see I was over 400 watts. As a result, I put that work in. My body, my heart rate went up. Now we're coasting, and theoretically, heart rate's going to fall back down. So you're doing little intervals. Even when you ride by yourself, you raise the pace to get through that light or whatever. That's an interval. Heart rate goes up. Then once you start soft pedaling or the terrain you're on levels off, you can see my heart rate has gone down a few beats. That lets you know you're fit. Your body's recovering. When you're not fit, the heart rate stays up longer. And it goes to higher levels on the smaller efforts. I hope it makes sense. So you got to do the work. There are no shortcuts. You got to put the hours in. That's all the more reason why riders who are seriously training are stingy with their riding time, because they know that I've got to make the most of the time on the bike to improve. So when you hear people say garbage miles, what they mean is you're not riding hard enough to stimulate anything worthwhile. So what's the point of being out there? Unless you're just sightseeing that day and that was your plan, then that's okay. But if you're trying to improve, you got to stimulate the zones that you need to work on. Otherwise, you're wasting training time. When they slow down, I just soft pedal for the most part. I stay a little to the left of John here because I want to see what's going on up ahead. So sometimes when he drifts over to the white line, I may move to the right so I can still see. I rarely follow the wheel directly behind, because it's rare that the draft is directly behind. It may be for a little period of time, but it doesn't stay constant because the wind is changing, you know, road direction is changing. You always have to be looking for the draft. Some debris. I think they leave, yeah, they get on the main lane. I stay there because there's enough room. I didn't need to get over those rumble strips, I call them. Minimal effort. There's no point in me swinging left and coming back right. That takes energy. So how I knew that my brother was having trouble is on Sunday at this effort, Paul felt like it was hard. So I told him, you're tired. And then Mo said, I think he hasn't recovered from yesterday. So yeah. So he's going to sort that out. That's what training is about. It's not just riding the bike or doing the workout, whatever sport you're in. It's figuring out whether you've recovered enough from it to go hard. Even at the top levels, you will hear the pros. They'll do a tour or, in a stage race. They'll make an effort. And then for 2 or 3 stages, you don't see them. They're trying to recover until the next important stage where they feel they can gain time. You need to ride with your head. You can't win every stage, so why are you killing yourself? So they save themselves out of for a TT or a mountain stage if that's their strength. And then they make that big effort on that mountain stage, and right at the top of the mountain, they get on the little recovery spinner and they loosen up. It speeds so your legs don't tighten up. And then the next day they try to sit in if it's not an important stage for them. So, you've got to use your head. We've hit Jackson Road here. That was 149 we're on. Had we turned right back there, we would have continued on 149. This is Jackson Road. That's Jesus. He rides with Mo and them a lot. And that's Adrian. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. It's probably spelled Adrian, like Adrian. But I think I like to pronounce people's names based on how they say it. And when Mo was telling me the guy's name, he said Adrian. And I think that's the way people should pronounce people's name. I don't believe in changing people's name. Like if somebody's name is Vincenzo and he wants to be called Vincenzo, it's kind of rude to call him Vincent. His name is Vincenzo, you call him Vincenzo, even though there's an English equivalent. And if somebody's name is Michael and they want to be called Mike, then you call him Mike, because that's what they prefer. And I think that's cool. You honor their wish. There are some Michaels that prefer to be called Michael and not Mike. And you honor their wish for that too. There's no point in causing strife. It doesn't take that much effort. So whenever I meet people for the first time, I let them say their name and then I say it back to them. It helps me remember that person's name. If I don't say it, it's harder for it to get etched in the database. That's something I was taught a long time ago, and it has worked. You can hear the wind. I've dubbed it, you know. Nobody wants to listen to the wind. So the benefit of riding with a group is the speeds are faster. You will travel quicker over the distance. And if you learn how to draft, you can sit in at a higher speed at lower effort levels. You know, within reason until the group start really going hard on the road. So what you do is, like here, the road's flat pretty much. This is when you sit in, you get a drink, you get something in to eat or whatever, because in a few kilometers the road's gonna go up. When the road goes up, you gotta work. I don't care if you're in the draft. On the hill, you gotta do the work. So you have to wait for those points in the ride to expend effort when necessary, and then you save the energy when things are not going so much. There's no point in you going hard or everybody else warming up, and then you wear yourself out, and then when they start to ride, then you can't stay with the bunch. So you get with a group. If you're new at it, your first goal should be, I want to finish the ride with these guys. That should be your goal. So if you're in the group and the pace is hard for you, do not pull. If you want to follow that as a rule to eventually ride with this group to the end, don't pull. Like what he's doing here is wasting energy. He should have continued to drift back instead of, you just got off the front, now you accelerate. Why you got to stay up here? Drift to the back. Just let him drift to the back. Continue to drift. Now, another thing is, this is Frank. I met Frank for the first time on this ride. Here's my issue. This bike he's got road bars on this bike. He's got bigger tires on this bike and everything. He's working harder than the rest of us simply because of his equipment. Now, unless you're that much ahead of the group level-wise, that's not a good idea. Because what's going to happen is when the ride really gets hard, because every ride really gets hard depending on who's there, you start to struggle. And he experienced that when we started bombing the hills. He had to let us go. So yeah, he's going to get a great workout, but my thing is this, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. If I'm going to ride with Mo and Jerry and all these guys in the area, we got a lot of fast riders in the area, you couldn't pay me to ride a bike like that. I'll ride a bike like this when I'm spinning around with my wife, because I will be able to do a little bit of work, because my wife is not in top condition right now like we used to be when we rode a lot together. But I can at least ride something heavier with her and pedal. Then if I took my regular bike to go ride with my wife right now, I put it in my smallest combination and I really can't spin it because it's just too fast for her right now. And our kind of riding, you know, with sightseeing and whatever, so this bike would be perfect for that. That's what I mean. I hope it makes sense. So it's kind of like, and then from the flip side, if you come to my ride with a bike like this, you're basically telling me, you guys don't matter. I can bring anything and I can hang. So we're going to make sure that you really can't hang. That's my take on it. I'm sure it may not have been as intense. I'm just, that's the way my brain works. So that's a lot of stuff you got to think about when you're doing stuff like that. And one day there was another rider in the area. He rides with us from time to time. His name is Tim. He brought a gravel bike. And so Mo just said, there's no gravel on this ride. and on that ride as well, he was struggling. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. So no, don't take your gravel bikes to a fast ride unless you're so much faster than the group you're riding with. Because from those two angles I put out, you might annoy somebody and it might intentionally make you work harder. They're going to be like, oh, what are we, chopped liver? You don't need to bring your road bike to our rides? Okay, we're going to see. Even though that may not be your intent. You just want to push yourself, so you brought your heavier bike. So just, if you do that, that's okay. But just plan to work if they take it that way. And maybe I'm the only one who sees it that way, so who knows? You know, I point things out that come to my mind, because that's what I was thinking about. I was like, you know, what are we? I got my skinny tires on, you got 32s on. So Frank was saying that his feet were cold. He's wearing touring shoes, you know, and I'm sure they're more breathable than anything on this ride. So he was saying his feet were cold, but he's got his knees covered. I think Abby should cover his knee. I don't know how he tolerates this. This is too cold. So Frank looks really smooth on this bike. His fit is good. So what I was saying about Frank and his bike is not a negative thing. It's just the way my brain works. So, you know, think about it too when you take out different equipment to different rides. If you want to push yourself, you might get your chance. If somebody feels like you're, how do you say, showing them up? Like, hey fellas, I'm in such good shape, I don't need to bring my road bike to the ride. If they take it that way, then you better plan to work. Which maybe nobody did. I don't know. This group just rides. These guys here, they put their nose down. They get to the hill and they want to do the work. These guys are getting ready. Everybody's got different events that are coming up. You know, a lot of these guys still dabble in racing, so they, you know, they push themselves at different times of the year. That's why we say, depending on who shows up, I can't tell you whether the group will be doing 18 miles an hour. I don't know what the wind's gonna do. I don't know what the hills are gonna be like that day with the wind and the hill. So yeah, you know, telling you what average speed we're gonna do, in my opinion, makes no sense. Because we have the wind behind us, then what? That changes. So it's just all in our face. So there's no point. I don't ask about average speed. I do what Kyle did. I go out, like when I used to compete, I would go out and see what the character of the ride is that day, because it changed all the time. So you go out, if they're just too fast, yeah, then you let them go and you go and do the work. You continue to ride and you come back the next week and you hang on longer and longer. That's what I did. That's how I got better. I didn't complain about the speed because I wanted to get better, and I would always go out. And those rides were open rides. If you didn't know somebody there, nobody cared when you left. You just showed up at a parking lot. They used to leave from like Derry Ashford and I-10. There was another one that left from Kirkwood and I-10. They had these parking lots. You just show up, and it was an open ride with a bunch of racers. 30, 50 guys would go out Brookshire, go out west, mostly flat. So it was fast because you had all levels. Pro 1, 2, 3 and down. All levels. Everybody rode. Just one group would start and then would just be all over the highway in little groups as the pace got heated. So you came out every week and your goal was to hang on longer and longer, and as you got better, people would see the improvement, and you got a lot of people who started giving you tips because the riders can tell. They can see who's trying. And I started getting tips. Then I bought books and this and that. And then once I got a coach, I learned a lot more. My coach taught me more than I could have learned from any other cyclist. I progressed so much quicker with a coach. Frank is spinning nicely here. Look at that. No arching of his back, just comfortable looking. That's Kenny. Kenny just pulled off the front, drifted to the back, got his sun and ski kit. styling. I like that light Abby has. Look at that. It's just steady, but it's nice and bright. I think that's the Garmin Varia. It's the radar system. He's just got the light on steady. That's what he has. He needs it the way he rides. Abby does some crazy stuff on the road. My brother from another mother. We're going on these little bumps on Jackson Road here, so you saw Frank standing for a bit. Probably felt good to change the way his muscles were working. He's got a nice warm, I don't know if that's a gilet. It looks like a gilet. It looks nice and woolly, like fleecy. Looks comfortable. Fits him well. Not flapping around. That's important. It's not how much you pay for the stuff. The fit and the function is more important. And it just happens that the pricier stuff function and fit better, just, you know, generally. But they got some moderate price. And wait for the stuff to get on sale. I get the winter stuff in the summer. That's when they're giving them away. Get it out of season for the next season. You see us spreading out. I'm going to the right. Abby's going to the left because they're slowing down on this downhill, and we want to catch more wind so we don't have to brake. Don't do a lot of braking in the Peloton. It's a waste of energy because you got to speed back up. You coast, you keep your speed, and then you just start pedaling again. Somebody's coming on Paul's left. A bike looks familiar. I don't know if that's Chris, the white frame. This is a nice little bump, 3%. That's why we ride out here enough solo to where you get used to riding these climbs. If you just do flat rides, when they take you in the hills, it is so different to your system. So if you're gonna ride varying terrains, you gotta train in varying terrains. Because riding hills, I think, get you in shape so much faster. They push you. If you don't have hills, do the parking garages when it's empty on the weekends, or do overpasses in your area or whatever. Or go into the wind and keep the effort, you know, moderate with a large load. I'll go ahead and move up in position because John was slowing down too much at that turn. I need to slow down that much to turn right. So I went around him. So now I'm on Jennifer's wheel. I'm not even pedaling. I'm in the pace line because this is a downhill. Now you see, I'm not pedaling. Look at Frank. He's been pedaling the whole time. That's a difference there. So he expended energy while other people were resting. And it's not anything that he did wrong. It had to do with the bike he has. He needed the pedal to maintain that speed. Well, the bike I had, I didn't. Jesus probably wasn't pedaling either. You see how Jesus came up alongside Paul? Because his bike and his tires are so much faster. I use that as an example. Equipment is important for the discipline you're in. If I took my bike on a cyclocross or a gravel ride, I would be tearing it up and it wouldn't be terribly efficient. Whereas Frank would, because he's got bigger tires. They handle uneven surfaces better. Look at Maurizio. He's going up there. I'm not sure why he's doing that. He told me he was going to take it easy, but never believe a rider who says he's going to take it easy. if he feels good later, you're in trouble. Mo stands on those pedals and gets that bike going, man. That's F10 Pinarello. I read up on the Pinarello. There's a lot of technology in that F10 and the F12 and the F8. They engineer those things for speed. So, yeah. One thing about Mo, when he's riding like this on these roads, he's watching the other road users. That's why he's sitting out there. Nothing's coming. I use my mirror for that, but he looks back and whatever. He's comfortable with that. I think he went up to say something to the guy at the front. But as a racer, that's the way you need to be. You need to be nimble on your bike. You need to be able to jump around. That's important.
We're doing Mount Moriah, that's what I meant. You're gonna do that. We're gonna do my Mariah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mo's trying to get the route from Paul. So Mo will not stop at Mount Moriah. What he's gonna do, we'll stop and we'll take our health break. He's gonna ride on Mount Moriah and then come back for us before he gets to 1486. He's gonna keep going because he said he's cold. He doesn't need to stop, but he's cold, so he's gonna keep riding to stay warm. That's why he's verifying where we're going. It's a big group today. It's great. It was fun having all these guys. Everybody just had fun, just relaxed. That's the way your group ride should be. Resist the urge for too many rules. This is a weekend. This is fun. This is a hobby. Your only rule should be, let's just be safe. Let people have their fun. I think that's Kelly on the right there. If I'm looking at her form, yeah, that's Kelly. And Kelly doesn't mess around with the cold weather. These girls don't mess around with the cold weather. You see how wrapped up they are? She is bundled up. As a result, she can use all her energy to pedal the bike, not to stay warm. It's the guys that want to be cute coming out here without coverings on their knees and this and that. Please, I'll cover myself. The more is wrapped up. More layers. He does not use a lot of heavy stuff, but he's got a gilet on there that's blocking the wind. Those little pieces matter because it's the wind that changes the temperature on you. Sometimes a neck gaiter or a neck collar can make all the difference in your comfort. Those little pieces, critical. For those of you who don't spend a lot of time in the cold, invest in those little pieces. And you accumulate them over time. You find out what you need, you know. And you don't need a whole lot of them. Get them and then you find out, okay, I get at least 2 of each that works. So while I'm using one, the other one's clean. When I'm done, I wash that one and next ride I put on the other one. So you don't put a hole in the thing by washing it all the time. You spread the wear. It will last a lot of seasons. Now you look at Kelly, she looks warm. That's the way you're supposed to dress. Don't be messing with the weather would mess with you. It will reach out and smack you. Then you end up crawling home shivering. and wear breathable fabrics, especially the base layer stuff. Because you sweat under there even though it's cold. You got to wear fabrics that wick the moisture off your body and dissipate and evaporate so that when you stop, you're not chilled. Goes up here. All of those little details matter. Do the research, invest the time, get the right stuff. You will benefit from it. We're approaching the turn for Mount Moriah. Most of the ladies are on their bikes. All you see are legs. It's like their torsos are so small so that when they sit on their bike and they get aero, you can't. If you're following them, the wind hits you because you don't get much of a draft. You just see legs because their frame generally, they're smaller. So I like to look for the tallest riders to follow. Because when I follow Laura and stuff, I got to put my nose near my stem. That's Kelly here. Yeah, that's her form. That's Kelly.
Roger road, watch out.
Yeah, there's a lot of cracks. You see those lines? The cracks are substantial enough to where it won't swallow your wheel right now, but you would feel them. It's like going over a washboard. That's why Paul's calling them out. And I think I mentioned to some of the ladies to be aware of those cracks. It's newly paved road, but the water in the soil washes away, and so, you know, our pavement starts to crack.
Watch out.
I think in a little bit I will drift back. That's Adrian. Ended up taking some nice strong pulls when we got on 1486. I think Mo said he was a tennis player or something. He played some other sport. I'm trying to remember exactly which sport it was. But so he's a lifelong athlete. From the College Station, Texas area right now. Mo says he likes to come and do rides here because our roads are better than the chip seal stuff they encounter out there. I don't know if that's considered the hill country or not. Bryan College Station area where Texas A&M, the university, Texas A&M University is located. That's where he lives. So he drove out here. I don't know if he came this morning, but he drove out here to ride with Mo and them. And I think after the ride, he was going to drive back. It's not that far. It might be maybe 90 minutes from our area. It's not too far by car.
Yeah. Laura.
Hey. Electric paper. I love that paper.
Laura and Paul and their fashion stuff.
You're the style guy.
Laura's got the purple shoes. I like Laura's shoes. They change color like a chameleon. It's really cool. This is a stop. There's a lady, Terry was asking, we're gonna stop here. We need to stop, but Mo is cold and he wants to keep riding, so he said he's gonna keep riding. He'll come back. He'll come back for us. We're gonna turn. This gas station has a nice restroom. They're clean and multiple. So I said short, micro stop. And then Peter had said pee in the woods is what a micro stop is. That's what Peter said. There's a micro stop, pee in the woods. Mike Barrera calls it micro stop, meaning stop. Mike usually gets a coffee,
Yeah, I got it.
that kind of stuff, just quick.
Want to keep spinning?
Okay, do it.
I thought we catch. I'm being facetious.
He had a procedure. The doctor told him to take it easy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So he said he's gonna take it easy on the ride, but once you get going, if you feel good,
getting
you
cold.
lift it. Yeah, he's
well,
getting.
he's not wearing a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't have heavy stuff on, but he's got what he needs. And if the tempo is too slow for him, like if he's sitting in the back or he's sitting in the draft and not working that hard, his body doesn't warm up. So he doesn't want to stop, because when you stop, you feel colder. So this is a short stop so people can use the restroom. It was a good stop. We needed to go, all of us. So this is the bonus material. I took the camera and put it in a different position on a fixed mount on the bike. And I'm not sure it's on. You hear me say, I'm trying to put this thing on. I couldn't feel the button with those gloves. We're heading towards Spring Branch.
Mounted it right there. I'm going to turn it on. I'm trying to turn it on. I can't feel the button. I can't feel the button.
With the gloves, I can't feel the button. And then I saw the light. You hear me say, it's on. Yeah.
Okay, it's on. Yeah, the light's blinking. It's a good little mount that goes right under the computer thing.
I hope I get more in this frame here, because I want to show guys. I mean, even I can use Paul too, but I want to show people who work on their fit how they look on the bike. Look, as Mo turns the pedal, look at his waist. No movement, zero. just the legs. If you're not experiencing that and you got rocking, get some help with your feet. That's what makes you efficient. We're heading towards Spring Branch Road here, and we're moving at about 22, 23 miles an hour here. There's no data on here. I had challenges getting this thing to talk with the data connector because of how the film was inverted. So I'm working on, there are cars coming, so we let them know. This is Spring Branch Road. That's my tire you're hearing. I'm out of the saddle. Now I'm sitting. I put a new mount on the beneath the computer, and it's very stable. You can see there's no shaking or anything, and it's got a great view. So I'm just testing this with this bonus material. But we're doing about 25 miles an hour. I see more roll up. But I want you guys to look at all the riders on here, and you will see some people rock. If you're rocking, your saddle's too high. Your body's trying to reach the bottom of the stroke. This is Jennifer. That's John's wife. You see how smooth she looks? Jennifer uses a slightly larger gear, and she just kind of keeps her pace. She always at the back of the pack. She's kind of watching what everybody's doing. I'm trying to get everybody in the frame. I'm in last position here on purpose. It's not easy. We're moving. I wish I had gotten the data to work, but I figure I wanted to still show the clips even without the data sync working on these clips. There was a problem getting this to work with the software that syncs the data, and I got to sort that out this week. Jennifer stands, roll that gear. All these bumps. This is about 3%. Heading south on Spring Branch Road. Paul's fanning that gear. Paul had already let us go when we're on Johnson Road before the stop. This is after the stop at Taco Corner. We're heading home now. We're about probably 35 miles from the start of the ride.
You're good.
So about 55 kilometers. She wanted to make sure that it was okay for her to get on that wheel. What I do when I'm in the back is I always leave enough of a gap that if a rider is interested in that wheel and I'm not on it necessarily, I leave enough of a gap to where they can just slide in. Because when I'm ready to really ride, I don't want to be back here. I'm going to ride up and move up. Because when it's fast enough, you'll find space. When you're going hard, it's never hard to find a space in the pace line. Because there's always people falling off because they don't want to go that hard or whatever. And you just move up. So I like this view. That was what this test was about. This is a very good view. So if this works out, I'm going to put that mount on all my bikes so that I will always have this option. So we'll use both options where we hold the camera and when we're in the mood, we stick it on here. I like how it's able, because I was concerned about the framing and how it would come across. But the stability of the mount impresses me. It's a newer mount that works with the Garmin 1040 that they came up with, so. You hear a little bit of a rattle, but that's about it. So the view will change because I'm going to start moving up. As the road is going up, riders are going to have challenges. I know Paul already told me that he was feeling empty in the legs. and he did not feel he was cramping and this and that. So something's going on with him. So as we go up here, this is a steep bunch and a pitch here. That's why the dogs in those yards always run around in there mocking us. So I always mess with them, but they weren't out this morning. I didn't see them. So we went over that bump. I'm moving up slightly. That's how you move up in the pace line. I don't need to expend a lot of energy. Right now the road's kind of level. That's Doug shot here. That's Terry in front of Paul. And I believe that's Laura in front of Terry. So I'm keeping my eye on the front to see what the boys are doing. See how what Doug is doing? Instead of pedaling, he's using the momentum, saving the energy for the next time he needs to work, which is right here. The road's starting to go up. And with these guys, I think more is at the front. Yeah, more is at the front. So they don't back off. The road goes up, they don't back off. Keep it going. So we're doing about 25 miles an hour. So it's fast through here. You only need data to show you that we're moving. And when you're going fast, I think this is the safest time to ride because everybody's serious. No messing around. When people are messing around, that's when crashes happen a lot. Not that they don't happen at speed, but I know Paul's tired. When I see him do that, he's trying to like, what's going on? Because he knows he can handle this. Why do I feel so terrible? And you see the gap opening? I knew. So I rode up past it. I'm going to get on Doug's wheel here. We're working. This is a 3.5% climb, and it's on. I'm looking for shelter. That's why I'm on this side. That's a nice little cove right here on the side of Doug. No wind. You gotta be old and crafty. You gotta be crafty. You gotta do that. You gotta use your head. Tetagem, head and legs. So because it's on, I'm in the draft. And you see Doug is in his drops. He's on the drops. And that's Terry up there. Then Laura is in front of Terry. Lets us know the car coming. On this road, they'll pass wide. We got a car now and then. We got Kong brain people that live out here. Big brains. Kong brain means smart people. If you haven't been following the commentaries, people that use a high percentage of their brains, recognizing the fact that we all should share the space. And most people are like that. So it's the exceptions you tend to remember. Filter them out. We're flying. So in a little while, Paul and what's his name, Frank, they're off the pace. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna let Doug know in a little bit. I'm gonna drift back for them to help them to pull them back, because the group ends up waiting in about probably 10 kilometers. They wait at the store. But I'm very impressed with this position, so we'll be using it more. Very, very nice. We're about to descend, so I figured this is... So I told Doug, you guys keep going with it, Paul. And Paul should be able to handle this pace. That's how I knew. He's not well. Something's going on with him. Didn't recover. Whatever it is, he's got to sort that out. Because in the draft here, yeah, he should have been sitting in. No worries. So he's not 100%. But Paul is so tough that a lot of times he'll be sick and still want to ride. Those of you who've been on the channel for years, we did a hero's ride. He did 100 miles sick. I was like, no. If had we known, we should have shortened that bad boy and you go rest. So it's hard to get him to take a break. So he needs to rest. So I'm waiting for them. I can see them in the distance behind me. In a little bit, I will turn around. And then Paul would tell me to keep going. So right here, I'm slowing down. I think there's somewhere around here. I'll turn around. This is a climb. Slight, 2%. That's why we like this road. You come on this road here, you're tired, you will work. Yeah, turn around here. I'm going back to them. So I can see them. The camera doesn't show them very well. He tells me to keep going. So I turn around now because that way I can kind of have a pace already for them to slip into. So I'm going to edit here for time, but the storyline will be the same. So I speed it up here just for this section here because it took them a while to get to me. Frank is pulling and you hear him say, go, go, go. So right there, he said, go, 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 go. So I lift my pace. It's 17 miles an hour, something like that. I don't want to go so hard to where they fall off again. So I go ahead and I'm pulling here. This is normal speed. And I'm watching my mirror and he seems impatient. So, but that's just my perception. So I decide in a little bit to let him come through and see what he wants to do. Because even though they were struggling back there, he seems to have the need to help with the pull instead of just sitting on my wheel and let me take them back. I'm not aware that the group is going to wait because my intention was to just ride with them. You know, we're probably about 32 kilometers from the end of the ride, 20 miles. So that's my intent, but I'm watching him in the mirror. I go, maybe I'm not going fast enough for him. I'm going to pull off in a little bit and let him come through just to see. We're doing about 18 miles an hour around here. I think this is where I pull off to the side. I'm going to wave him up. I slip behind Paul. I'm going to observe. I'm going to watch what he's doing. So when he pulls through, he's going slower and slower. So I said, oh, okay. You see the wind on Paul's gilet? Wind, and this road is a grade. It's about 2.5%. And it goes on until we get, and it kicks up to 4% when we hit 149. It levels off after the curve, but here we're working. So he's going slower and slower. I'm going to go back to the front in a little bit. Because I realize he's going slower and I can go faster. So I go back to the front. I don't go too fast. I don't want to burn him out. I just come back to the front. See the wind, look at that flag. So I come back to the front and I decide to just pull up until, you know, but then I think when we hit 149, he decides to come back around. So I'm going to edit here for time again. So once again, he comes through. I didn't wave him through. He just came around. I said, okay, maybe he wants to pull. So I'll let him pull. I sit in the back. Because right now, as far as I'm concerned, we're just going to ride together and get back. But those guys were not that far ahead. I would say 15, 20 seconds. and they decided, I mean, most of the ride we could see them in the distance, but once they turned on 149, we couldn't because of the hills. This thing is steep right here as we approach 149. He's slowing down, so I'm going to go around him, and I'm going to go ahead and take a pull. I'm going to turn, tell him it's clear. Let's go. We're going to keep going. And I'm going to edit for time. He's going to come around again. Then we'll see more in the distance. So right here, I speed it up. And around here, he's going to come through. So we're basically working together here. I think at this point we can see Mo. So he comes around. I guess he's recovered. The road goes up here. It's about 3% here. I ride onto his wheel. So we're basically riding together. We can see Mo in the distance. That's when oh, okay, they waited. So we're going to turn. There is a Keenan cutoff road coming up. There's a left turn. That's Mo. The group is on Keenan cutoff, waiting right on the corner by the store there that you see on the left. So it was nice of them to wait.
Thanks for the pull, man.
So he's thanking me for the pull.
Thanks for helping too. That's
I said thanks for helping. That was great. So we turn here, the group's on the right, and everybody's gonna clip in. We're just gonna ride past the group. They're clipping in, everybody's going. And so at this point, I've decided that, okay, we're close enough to home. We all know the route, whatever. We're gonna be going through the neighborhood soon, you know. Paul just took a drink, so he just was not firing, and on Sunday it was confirmed he still had not recovered from this ride. So like I told him, you know, take a day and just rest and see how you feel the day after that rest.
I leave it on there all the time.
Yeah, we're talking about the mount.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, so Doug noticed that the camera was on the mount. He said he did a couple of races where he put it on there. So that's kind of cool. I like the angle here. This is good. I'm impressed with the stability because I was just testing it, because they sell all this stuff and they don't all balance and take away the shaking like this one does. So besides the mount being stable and having a little gasket that softens everything, the camera itself has a built-in program that actually stabilizes the film. So it came out really well, and I was like, okay, this is nice. So it's another option. We have many ways that we carry this camera. And so when I use it in the future, I should be able to get the data to work. It wouldn't work because there was something to do with the editing software. So we're on Keenan cutoff. This goes uphill. That thing was so loud. I have the film dubbed. That's why you didn't. It's like it's made all that noise with very little acceleration. So if you're going to spend the money for noise, you'd better off spend the money for power. Absolutely, very little except all kinds of noise, and went nowhere. Somebody dropped some tiles or something. Looked like particle board or something. I don't know. Anyway. So Doug's moving up. The guys in front are getting gapped, so Doug's riding up to mowing them. The pace has picked up, and that's the way it is in a group. The pace will pick up. So this road is going to kick up in a bit. I'm watching everything. I'm sitting behind here. It kind of settled a little bit. So, okay. So the gaps are, everybody's together. The gaps have been closed. I like Paul's combination. That pink pops on a cloudy day like this. Perfect. You see Doug is up there. The road's going up. There's a 3.5% bump. These are the things that sap your energy. We ride here all the time. So I'm watching him and he's working. I was like, yeah, he's not. He's not well. Usually we ride these things casually. I mean, meaning at this effort, he shouldn't look like he's working. So I was like, yeah. And that's the way I like to say car back. I don't like to scare people. I'm just letting them know that's a car back. Should you decide you want to pull out the line, this may not be the best time to do it. So this Keenan cutoff road now, it levels off here, is gonna go for a bit, and the speeds have peaked up. You know, we're doing around 27, 28 miles an hour, about 46 kilometers an hour. It's slightly downhill here. I'm hanging back because we're going so fast. I don't need to be that close. It's almost like a slight descent. And now it levels off. There's a turnoff coming soon on the right that will take us on the road called the Hills Parkway that leads into the Grand Lake. I say that's why Mike Barrera is looking behind. I'll move over so he can know it's clear, because by moving left, you don't have to lose all this speed. You don't have to scrub your speed too much. You can tell a gentler line and carry more speed. This is the area that everybody refers to in the area as the neighborhood. and people know what you mean. That's Kenny. It's John. So let us know how you like the view of the bonus material if you got to watch this piece, because we're just experimenting with this position. I really like the way it looks. I like the stability. My test was about the stability. That's why I didn't bother syncing the data. I had all kinds of issues with it, but we'll get that sorted because I really like how stable it came out, and the framing is very good. So we're going to be incorporating this into more and more of our filming. Because what I was concerned about did not pan out to be an issue. I thought it would be bouncing around because the bike is bouncing around, but you can't tell. Yeah, we're hammering this hill here. So that's how I knew that Paul was not firing very well. Normally, he would not have to get down that low and look like he's working that hard to get up that little bump. We ride these things all the time. So that's how I knew. I said, well, something's going on. And so a few days of rest should make up for it, whatever it is he's been dealing with. It's not just being on the bike. It's everything else going on in your life that affects your recovery. Because working out is a stress on the system. And until you recover from the prior workout, don't continue to stress the system. Because then you won't improve. You get stale. And it can lead to overtraining. For those of you out there who don't understand that or know that. Okay, so I don't know what you did on Saturday, but this is part of what we did on Saturday. Remember, get your K's in and keep all the doctors 5